Good morning and welcome back to the Naz Wally Sports Hour. I'm your host, Walter Rigabon. We're live and we're pleased to welcome to the Naz Wally Sports Hour John Amendola. John is the chairman of the Amendola Media Group. He's a digital media guru, but more importantly for this morning's discussion, he's a sports card impresario. John,
there
welcome.
we go. How are you guys this morning?
We're doing great. Thanks for joining us. John, you and I have had some discussions over the course of the last few months, and you've brought to my attention, which I was unaware of and embarrassed to say because I've had a lifelong passion for sports cards. Still have many of my 50s and 60s cards hanging around somewhere. Apparently, the sports card market has reached levels of insanity this year. Bring our listeners up to date. As you are aware, most of our demographic of our listeners are over the age of 40, 45, let's say. We do have some younger ones, younger people listen, but there's a lot of us, for lack of a better term, seniors who have a lot of sports cards hanging around. Should we be going down to our basement once again to see what we have? John, bring us up to speed.
So, first of all, I got to say it was great listening to Butch, and I think the Heat are going to win. I'm just going to throw that out there. Jimmy Butler is awesome. The guy just wants to win. So, that was pretty cool. Like, I'm flattered that even beyond the same, you guys get to talk to all these great sports guys on a regular basis. So, if the media guru ever doesn't work and you guys need a third wheel, I'm in. So, Wally, when we had lunch a few months ago, you were laughing at me, and I was trying to get you, let me into your basement. So, I fit your 40 to 45 demo, and you fit the older demo. So, cyclical market, sure, we can say that, you just mentioned, I remember you telling me a story when you were a kid and Parkhurst stopped producing. You got on the phone and you phoned them. Then you remember as a young adult, probably in your late teens, 20s through the 70s, you were collecting. Then you probably remember with your children in the early 90s was the boom when, everybody and their mother collected cards. And then that boom kind of stopped in the late 90s. So we call that the junk wax era from 1985 to about 1995 when people just went, bananas. So I get calls all the time with people that have, the upper deck, the Pavel Bure with his rollerblades and the Jagger cards. And a lot of that stuff mass-produced. It still is worth pennies. Anything pre-1985, especially some of that goodness that you've got sitting in your basement, and anything after the late 90s, so early 2000s, right into the 2015-16, the production was so low that there's stuff in there. You're hearing about LeBron James cards sell for $2 million, and Mike Trout 101 Superfractor sold for $3.8 million US a couple weeks ago. So you've got all these goats, like you're talking about LeBron as a guy that's going to go down. I mean, you're going to argue forever who's better, him or MJ. And, the year he came into the league, his rookie cards, like nobody was collecting. So packs of cards that were, $2.99 in 2003, I got my hands on 10 packs of 2003 Topps basketball, and I sold all 10 of them at $275 US a pack. So guys are spending $275 to chase 10 cards to hit LeBron, because if the LeBron comes out of the pack mint, you got a $10,000 or $20,000 card on your hand, and it's just booming.
John, from the perspective of an old guy, just for lack of a better term, I'll use that term for myself today. I'm 64, going on 22. Especially if I love it. Especially if I've got old hockey cards I'm looking at. But not only is this just a hobby for you, you've got a developing business going on in sports cards, because this has now become more so than ever serious business.
I never.
And this has taken off this year to what I call, and I know you and I have this debate, to what I call ridiculous levels. And you always back me off and say
more than ridiculous.
Sorry,
it's more than ridiculous. So let me. Okay, so I'll try to give this to you in like a 90-second version. So. The difference between when I collected as a kid, and I've been in this business before. My first business was this about 18 years ago online. You and I have spoken. So the difference of what the hobby has become today, it's just mainstream pop culture. So you've got famous athletes, movie stars. You know, like what about when Drake comes out and starts talking about his Michael Jordan card collection, or Justin Bieber spends $1 million on Pokemon? If you think cards are crazy, like another day, another time, look, just do yourself a favor and go watch Pokemon, because you're about to see something you've never seen before in the next few years. And Pokemon characters don't tear ACLs and have career-ending injuries, so the value of their cards just go up and up. But here's one for you, Wally. I was online last night, ripping cards live. People are coming into the live on Instagram, Facebook, Twitch, whatever, and they're actually transacting. They're buying product on my store or through a bunch of different ways, and we're online opening the cards. So you could argue it's almost become, I'm not going to use the word gambling, I'm going to use the word entertainment. So this is one side of it, how it's really become entertainment. But the pulp culture side of it, I keep telling you, it's like fine art. You're not buying Picasso anymore. I'm 42 years old. I become uber successful. I can only go buy so many fancy cars, but maybe I want to go out and spend $50,000 or $100,000 on the shoes that Kawhi wore when he made that shot in Game 7 against Jimmy Butler. Because when my buddies come over, they're going to relate to that. So it's way beyond collecting. The commercial viability of it, the exposure, and then the last piece of the puzzle really is what's really taking it over the edge is the foreign money. So like Asia, China specifically, and the demand that they have for the product. And then lastly, what'll really blow your mind, I'll give you this last stat just to give you an idea of how ridiculous soccer, which we take for granted here in Canada because we're so multicultural. We have this European influence. We've been watching soccer when we know that a lot of the West, this side, North America, isn't. A box of Prism. Prism is the Cadillac, if you will, the Ferrari of trading cards. It's not Upper Deck. It's not Topps. It's Panini Prism. The little sticker company is now the biggest sports card company on the planet. A case of 2018 Prism soccer cards, 12 boxes, in March was $3,000 US, and today it's $75,000 US.
Oh my God!
So, and the last point is, any way you slice it, you asked me the other day or today about the company the investors now. So these guys that are buying these cards, 2, 3, 4 million, it's not one guy buying the card. It's a group of investors. So if you follow the sneaker market, StarStock, StockX, these companies, what they did was, like anything, when there's supply and demand, you have limited quantities of something that everybody wants, you allow the market to dictate the price. So that's what's happened. To sum it up, it's not only become an insane form of entertainment, which is just driving the desire and the value for the product. It's also become literally like the stock market. So, Jamal Murray drains 51 points. His card value goes up 20% the next day.
Wow. Naz, I'm going to let you...
John, how many Wayne Gretzky rookie cards were printed, and how many Connor McDavid rookie cards were printed?
So, you're a stats guy. So that's a great comparison, especially because Connor McDavid was still at the end of the thing. But I don't know the number offhand, but I'm going to tell you this. There's a company called PSA. You guys know Beckett because you guys are old school. PSA has actually been around longer than Beckett in the authentication business. However, they specialized in memorabilia for a long time until they got into the cards. So it's called what we call slabbing. You get your card graded, and what it does is it provides true value insurance. So there's vaults all across. People are opening up, these kinds of things. So there's only one registered Mint 10, Gem Mint 10 Naz is the absolute number one grade you can get. There is only one registered Wayne Gretzky 10 out there, and they say nobody's ever seen it, or there may be two of them, nobody's ever seen them. A 9 will fetch you as much as $250,000 US. A Wayne Gretzky card or a Bob York card, I'm telling Wally over lunch, that's been run over by a card that's a 1, you're still getting a couple of grand for. Now, a Connor McDavid Young Guns rookie 10 is actually a modern day card, is already worth several $1,000s. But the argument is the same. So you could say, Naz, I'll give you a basketball analogy because I actually know the numbers. There's 300 Michael Jordan rookie 9. It's a $500,000 card. And there's 10,000 Luka Doncic. There is 500 million people chasing the Luka Doncic. The vintage market has not even hasn't caught up yet. What's going to happen in the coming months? We're about, another month away from no more sports for a little while. They're talking about seasons aren't going to come back till the new year. You had no photographers in the bubble. there is the rage out there. Like, man, I can't even really give you an analogy other than like the craze people have. It's almost like, man, this sounds crazy, guys, but I'm gonna almost like it. It's like an opioid almost. Like I don't even know if I could give you something that's so like, and there's just going to be nothing there. So you're right. I get what you're saying, Naz. It doesn't make sense, and it really doesn't. So what it's telling us is the vintage market is just about to explode. I got Walter convinced me to go out and buy a John Bellable rookie, his favorite player. I paid $1,000 for it, and I sold it for $3,000. Just had to put a slab on it.
I'm still, you know what? I'm utterly perplexed, but I understand. I took Economics 101 in university, and I understand the law of supply and demand, and I also understand speculative manias too. And there's a great book out there written about speculative mania called The Delusion of Crowds. My sense is, and I love sports cards. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there's nothing makes me feel like a kid again, like looking at some of my old Dave Keon or John Bellable or Rocket Richard cards. I mean, but to think that something that's been printed in the last 3-4 years could be worth $4 million.
It's unbelievable.
It doesn't make any sense to me. And I know you use the analogy that, older generations paid millions of dollars for Van Goghs, and this is the current generation's Van Gogh. To me, I'm not so sure if it's the current version of a Van Gogh or if it's the current version of a 1719 tulip. I don't know how many people under the age of 40 understand the tulip mania from Holland in the early 1700s. But they had tulips that were selling for like millions of dollars back in the 1700s until there was a collective awakening. I don't want to be critical. I get it. I get the part where people got excess cash and this makes them feel good.
Entertainment.
But millions of dollars for a card.
Unreal.
A guy who's just playing today. John, convince me that if I buy a Mike Trout for $4 million, that I'm going to be selling it for $25 million?
Yeah, Mike Trout's a bad example because he's the best baseball player in the last 20 years. He's already done. But a better example is, I'll give you a great example. You guys were talking about Tyler Hero. So Tyler Hero's, I'm going to call it stock, has literally gone up 300% in the last series. So you're 1,000% right about the speculation, and you could call it a cyclical market. And we just agreed that Topps has been in business for 120 years. Every 25 years, there's this rush, and you could say it's going to go for 2 to 7 years. So I'm going to say to you, what's different about it is the global attention. So it's like saying, 5 or 10 years ago, even never mind 10 or 15 years ago, you never thought, I bet you didn't think that social media was going to be as real as it is. So it's like you have to look at urban pop culture and entertainment value. So if we take our demographic, if we take the affluent 40 to 65-year-old male, let's just say, we have a totally different, premise. We're not buying boxes of cards necessarily as much as, I had a lawyer friend of mine call me up and he gave me a list. He's doing the man cave up and he wants his Jatoni table. And he wants a shadow box with all the Oilers from the 80s. He wants a Curry, the whole starting lineup. He wants the little shadow box. So he's got a $5,000 budget because he wants these cars in great shape. So I think you're right to a degree. I also think, though, Wally, me and you are going to have a lot of fun with this because we talk a lot and we're only in the third inning. This is like nothing like I told you. I'm going to tell you one more time. I went online last night. I opened my phone up, Instagram Live at 9 o'clock. I had a contest winner. I love it. You know me. I live for this shit. I'm an entertainer. I get online. Let's go. And basically, Walter, we sold $1,000 of cards online, opening cards up, and people missing the pack. Let's go to the next pack. And that's chump change. There's guys out there in the States, a couple of guys in New York specifically. I mean, there's hundreds of people doing it. It's called breaking. These guys are doing $1 million a month in revenue while opening cards online.
And I know we've had this conversation. We'll continue to have this conversation. I'm flabbergasted, but, the younger generation is placing their stamp on the world in a different way than our generation did. And, Dave Feschuk wrote a pretty good article in the Toronto Star about sports card collecting. You passed on to me an incredibly well-written and detailed article about sports card collecting. And this is how far we've gotten with sports card collecting. And for that matter, collectibles in general. There's a company out there called Rally Road. It just came to my attention last night. You can actually go online, and it's like a mutual fund or sports cards. So they've got a Mickey Mantle there. Of course, the Mickey Mantle 1952 Topps is considered one of the holy grails.
Yeah, top 3 or 4 cards of all time, and always will be.
And most people cannot afford to buy that card because it's worth millions of dollars. But I can now buy a piece of that card. Yeah, I can buy a unit in that card for like $150. So I will own like 1/10,000th of it. I don't think I ever get to actually personally hold it in my hands, but I can say I own a piece of that.
You own a 52 Mantle. So Star Stock and StockX. Star Stock started with the sneakers. It's owned by the gentleman that owns the Cavaliers. And I'm telling you, and for your viewers, Wally, you've got great viewers that have these collections. I'm telling you, you said I want to keep this stuff for my grandson. I'm saying, well, let's just pay for his and all your future grandkids, college, because now's the time. But there's lots of guys coming around. There's not too many people in GTA. We're trying to build a whole service. Mintinc.ca, INK with a K, like Mint is the grading. Ink goes on the card. Anybody wants to talk, no more. I could talk about this stuff for days and days and days. I'm just blown away. We build businesses and brands, as you know. And Walter, I'm telling you, I've never started something from scratch that gained so much traction, revenue positive, profitable so fast in all my years doing business.
Naz, we've got a few minutes left. I'll give you last go.
What sport is the most popular when it comes to cards?
Basketball, lights out. Global, and now soccer. So again, it's the global demand now. So you got U.S., China. Basketball right now is it's destroying football, and we all know football. Basketball, I've never seen 10 times more popular than the next biggest sport, which would be traditionally football, and now soccer's just taking it over.
So we're going to let you go, John. This has been illuminating. You and I will continue to have these discussions, but you alluded to it. You're actually in the business. Tell our listeners if they have any sports cards.
Awesome.
Tell our listeners where they can find you on the internet.
So we're at mintinc.ca, mint, M-I-N-T, ink.ca. We started last year doing some work, as Walter said at the beginning of the show. We have an ad agency. I fell in the space. I love it, and we went all in. So whether you're looking to get back in the hobby, or you have some questions, or you have some cards you want to sell, or you want a share of a 52 Mantle, we can take care of that for you. So check us out, mintinc.ca, and Wally, Naz with 1Z. You guys are awesome, and thanks so much for having me. I love the show. I love to support the show, and I want to come back on the show again sometime.
And the last word to all our listeners, if they've got some old sports cards in their basement, they should be keeping good care of them, shouldn't they?
Or they should call me and we should talk about putting their kids and grandkids through school.
Okay. John Amendola, the company is Mintink, MINTINK.ca. It's certainly a fascinating story and a fascinating business. Thanks, John.
You guys are the best, John.